Aloha and welcome to Action Island. I am Gilles Gallant. I am joined by Nick Giffen, Sean Koerner, and Grant Neiffer. And it's week 9 in the NFL. We've got Thursday night football on tap between the Baltimore Ravens and Miami Dolphins. And as usual, what we're here to do, we're going to build a four-leg same game parlay for this matchup. So here's how it works. The four of us, we give our two favorite bets for tonight's game. Then we're going to take a vote on those picks to decide which of those two bets is going to be one of the parlay legs, and then which parlay leg stays and which one goes. By the end of the show, we're going to have a four-leg same game parlay for Ravens Dolphins. Now, as we give out these picks, quick slip links are going to be dropped in the YouTube chat. So if you want to tail any of these bets and you want to get the best line and odds that is available at this time, click that link. It'll take you directly to the sportsbook and you can make that wager. So, Grant, right now, we've been talking a lot about some of the Dolphins' upside in this game. And looking right now, it looks like you have two Dolphins touchdown props that you like in this game. What are you looking at?
Yeah, so the first one is one of my favorite bets on the board tonight. It's Malik Washington to score a touchdown. You can find him at about plus 375. Now, Washington's just kind of taken over the Waddle role in this offense. Tyreek has gone down, but he's been used super heavily in the red zone. I think he has 6 targets in the last 4 weeks. And he's just a guy that is going to get large amounts of volume. Granted, his eight out's going to be low, but it's the red zone volume that really matters to me. The trailing great game script that's likely to happen here. I mean, I don't see many people having Baltimore trailing at halftime. So most likely the Dolphins are going to be throwing heavily in the second half. So Washington, I absolutely love him in this spot. I think he's going to get a decent amount of volume, runs a lot out of the slot, and Baltimore has not been great versus slot wide receivers this year. And just the amount of volume he has is far too high. I'm not going to lie. I hit his ladder for receiving yards here, which someone on the show may disagree with here in a minute. But I absolutely love it. Next one is Ollie Gordon plus 400. Now, the odds are just far too high here. I know how good A-Chain is. I know how much volume he gets. But when they get into the red zone, it's kind of a 50-50 split. Gordon, the much better between the tackles runner. He's big, he's strong, he can get it in the end zone. And they've shown pretty much all season that they're willing to use him in the red zone. Doesn't have a ton of touchdowns on the year, but one game alone, I think one of the Thursday night football games, he ended up getting multiple taken from him just because hey, let's throw the ball to Waller. No one knows he's still playing. But tonight, no Waller. I'm expecting a decent amount of volume for him if they get into the red zone. Big if, but we're getting plus 400 odds here, which seem way too high.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, like the Dolphins being big home underdogs and with a total over 50, still some upside on this Dolphins team to get some scores. And it's been a good strategy for you what you did on Monday, where you took Pacheco and Kareem Hunt, knowing that one of these guys is likely going to find the end zone, and you cashed in with Kareem Hunt. So, all right, Nick, Sean, we're going to take a vote here. Are we going to vote for Malik Washington to score a touchdown? That's at plus 375. Or are we going to take Ollie Gordon for an anytime touchdown? That's at 4-1. Let's take a vote. All right, how we voting here? I went with Ollie Gordon because honestly, Grant, I feel like you and I have bet on Ollie Gordon. I feel like for 4, maybe even 5 weeks straight right now. It looks like it's a clean sweep across the board. Yeah, so Ollie Gordon is going to be the first leg of this parlay. And if you want to tail those, you could grab the quick slip link in the YouTube chat. All right, Kerner, you are up, and you've got two player props for this game and no tackle props. What's up with that?
Well, a tackle prop will be coming after the show, and those are tough to parlay because they're only available at certain books. But
I
I
hear
have
you.
two receiving yard props for you guys to choose from. The first one's an over. I'm going Zay Flowers over 68 and a half receiving yards. I was actually shocked how productive he was with Cooper Rush and Tyler Huntley under center these last 3 games. He was averaging 2.26 yards per route run. But obviously he's going to get a huge boost with Lamar Jackson back tonight. He was averaging at 2.5 yards per route run with him under center. This is also a plus matchup. You know, the Dolphins ranked 29th in DVOA against the pass, so they should have their way when they do throw here. And, you know, Lamar, he's coming back from a hamstring injury. I don't know if he's going to be scrambling as much tonight. So that could just lead to more pass attempts, which helps boost Zay Flowers' receiving upside. And the Ravens were throwing at an 18% higher rate pass rate over expected with Lamar under center. So we're just going to see more volume in the passing game from the Ravens with Lamar back. So I'm projecting his median, you know, the low 70s, but like Flowers upside here. And for my second pick, as Grant mentioned, I'm on the other side with Malik Washington, at least his receiving yards. I'm going with Malik Washington under 30 and a half receiving yards. I locked in his longest reception prop under 15 and a half earlier. That's my main play. But again, same reason why I like this is just his average depth of the target is just 4 yards downfield. So even if he does rack up, a handful of catches, which I certainly expect. He tends to get held in check quite a bit. And the Dolphins have been very run heavy the past two games, and it's been working. So I expect them to be fairly run heavy, at least in the first half. And then, as Grant mentioned, in the second half, if they're down, they're going to be forced to throw a ton. But Malik, he's also, excellent. They have designed rush attempts for him. He could, have an explosive gain on the ground. He's an excellent kick returner. The Ravens have really struggled with kickoffs, so he could return a couple long kickoffs here, which just gives them shorter field position, right? So that kind of caps his upside in the receiving market. So I love Washington as a player. I think he's gonna have a good game tonight, but going with his under 3.5 receiving yards tonight.
I'm glad you brought up those last 2 points about the designed runs and then the kick returning because I wanted to mention, even though we did vote for Ollie Gordon, there is still upside for Malik Washington to score a touchdown because of those two factors. So
Yes.
just
Yep.
wanted to bring that up
Yep.
that he might not be seeing a lot in the receiving yard standpoint, but from a touchdown perspective, still like that price. But now we have to take a vote, Nick and Grant, on Zay Flowers over 68 and a half receiving yards. Or are we going to fade Malik Washington and take under 30 and a half receiving yards? So let's take a vote. All right, Grant, I hate to do this to you. I wanted to bring that in because I'm voting for the Washington under, okay? So I no hard feelings. And of course, as I expect, you voted for the Zay Flowers over. So Nick and I, we ended up voting for Malik Washington under 30 and a half receiving yards. But again, if you want to bet his touchdown at plus 375, there is other upside in there from a receiving yard standpoint. And I brought up that tackle prop part, Sean, because you're going to be joining Nick for Bet What Happens Live tonight to debut your new live tackle betting model, which is pretty sweet.
Yep, yep. Well, Nick and I are both building it right now behind the scenes, so we're gonna be checking it out in the first half. But yeah, can't wait to lock in some halftime tackle bets tonight.
Absolutely. And even the pregame tackle bets, which you do
Yeah.
have been paying off lately too. So we'll see how that develops for Bet What Happens Live tonight. Now, Nick, before we get to your picks, if you want access to all of Action Pro projections, sign up for an annual subscription to Action Pro. Access includes exclusive player prop picks from Sean Koerner and other members of the Action Analytics team, along with anytime touchdown projections. You also get access to the best spread, money line, and total bets, along with real ticket and money percentages. To sign up, visit actionnetwork.com/pro today. Use code Island20 at sign up. One more time, that is Island20 at sign up for $20 off. Okay, Nick, you're up now. And as we are usually used to with a lot what you do, usually we like to work with the luck rankings. Is there a luck rankings play for Thursday Night Football?
I mean, yes and no. It is technically a weak luck under for this game. So it does meet our thresholds, and weak luck unders at this point in the season to the end of the season do actually beat the market at around a 56.5% rate to the under. But my full game model is showing some value on the over at 51. So I'm going to go to a different angle here. I'm going to take the second half under. And this way we get some of that weak luck under vibes, but we just apply it to 1/2. And I think this game has the potential to blow out in Baltimore's favor. If it does, if Baltimore is leading by 7+ in the second half, then we get some really interesting pace splits. Baltimore is the fourth slowest team in the NFL since the start of 2023, when offensive coordinator Monken started with them. They're the fourth slowest team with a 7+ point lead in the NFL over that time frame. And Miami is the second slowest team when, of all teams, trailing by 7+. And that's, again, all with Frank Smith as their offensive coordinator. So we get some slow pace if Baltimore is leading by at least a touchdown. Also, the defensive kind of splits also point towards the under in the second half in a Baltimore leading scenario. The Ravens secondary, they are now fully healthy, and last week it showed. They had a minus 17.8% defensive pass DVOA, meaning they held their opponent to 17.8% below their efficiency, essentially, and that's adjusted for opponent. versus in weeks 1 to 7, they were allowing plus 21.3%. So way above efficiency. And, week 8, if we just looked at that minus 17.8% number and happened to apply it to the full season, that would make Baltimore the number 2 defensive pass DVOA team. So now that they're fully healthy, they're equipped to stop the pass, which would be what Miami's doing if they're trailing. Of course, if Baltimore is leading, then they'll also be running the ball, and Miami's defense, for what it's worth, is a little bit better versus the run. 21st in defensive DVOA versus the run. Not great, but that's better than against the pass, where they're 29th in defensive DVOA. But I really like that massive edge towards the Baltimore defense, pass defense, because Miami will need to throw. And I don't think the market will necessarily have adjusted enough for the fact that this Ravens secondary is now fully healthy.
Right. And I think that's key, is that the second half, we're looking to maybe see some slower splits here. Given that the Ravens are 7-point favorites in this game, there is a pretty good chance that they're going to be leading going into the second half. So we're looking at a little bit of a slog, under 26.5 for the second half. Nick, what's the second pick?
Yeah, for my second pick, I'm going to go to Keaton Mitchell to score the last touchdown of the game. You can find this as long as 40-1. I think this blows out. I really do. I know the line is only 7.5, which isn't really blowout territory, but I have more of a feeling that this blows out. Lamar Jackson, Baltimore, has scored 40 versus Buffalo, and they were 20th in defensive DVOA. 41 versus Cleveland, and they were 6th in defensive DVOA. 30 versus Detroit, and they're 1st in defensive DVOA. And they were on pace for not a great 19 against Kansas City, but Kansas City is still 9th in defensive DVOA. You average those, and that's nearly 32.5 points per game under Lamar, per 60 minutes, against 4 defenses that average way stronger than league average. Only Buffalo wasn't better than league average. The other 3 were top 10 defenses. And they also had 30 points by our expected score in those 4 games. And now they face a Miami defense that ranks 29th in defensive DVOA. I mean, I really think if Baltimore wanted to keep the pedal to the metal, they could get 40 if they wanted to. So I do see very strong blowout potential here. So if you're going to play Keaton Mitchell, he's 40-1 for a first touchdown, but he's also 40-1 for a last touchdown, when I think there is much more of a chance he scores the last touchdown than the first touchdown. So give me 40-1 for the last touchdown for Keaton Mitchell.
Yeah, that doesn't really make sense. I feel like just given what we know about the Ravens starters of why he would be 40-1 for first touchdown. I feel like 40-1, the likelihood of that happening is in a blowout. So, okay.
Or an opening kick return.
That is true. Yes, because he is the kickoff returner for them. Okay. We got to take a vote though, Sean, Grant. Are we going to vote on the second half under 26.5, or are we going to get crazy and we're going to take Keaton Mitchell last touchdown at 40-1? So let's take a vote. All right, Grant, Sean, I love getting crazy just as much as the next person. I couldn't vote for the Keaton Mitchell one. I went for second half under 26.5. What'd you guys do? Okay, all right. So we're all on the same page. Nick, we like Keaton Mitchell here, but again, I think second half under, I think just appeals a little bit more, especially with that to 26.5. Okay, I've got 2 touchdown props that I like for this, and then we're going to get out of here. So first pick, Mark Andrews for an anytime touchdown. He's around plus 185 to plus 190. Lamar Jackson is back. I think it's pretty simple on that front. All the Ravens passing game options should get a lift with him back. The Dolphins have allowed 11 passing touchdowns this year. They're 29th in defensive DVOA versus the pass, bottom 7 in targets, catches, and yards, and touchdowns to tight ends this year. So, and then they are playing a little bit more man coverage lately. And Andrews, for what it's worth, he did score both of his touchdowns against man defenses this year when he faced the Lions. So that's the first option. And then on the Dolphins side, I like Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. He's around plus 550 to score. No touchdown yet this year. He scored 9 times last season. He's running the second most routes on the Dolphins since Tyreek Hill got hurt, and his target rate has gone up a little bit, not a lot, but just a little bit in that time with both him and Waller out of this lineup. And the Ravens secondary, if we're going to use the last 2 games, then probably it's going to be a little difficult, but I'm looking at a more full season sample, but I still think they can be thrown on it, especially in a trailing script. 10 touchdowns allowed, or 10 of their 14 passing touchdowns allowed to wide receivers, which is bottom 3 in the NFL. So I think it's just a matter of time before Nick Westbrook-Ikhine gets a target here in this end zone with Tua, especially now with Darren Waller out being a bigger target in the red zone. So those are the 2 touchdown props that I've got, guys. I love Mark Andrews and I love Nick Westbrook-Ikhine both to get a touchdown tonight. So it's up to you guys. Let's take a vote. All right, which way do we go? Are we going to pair Ollie Gordon with Nick Westbrook Akini? Or are we taking Mark Andrews here? What are we doing? Andrews. Okay, yeah. So it's pretty simple. We're just going to take Mark Andrews. So that's 2 touchdown props now. We have part of this parlay. So let's go over what we got here. So we got Ollie Gordon for an anytime touchdown. We have Malik Washington under 30.5 receiving yards. We're taking the second half under 26.5. And rounding that out with Mark Andrews for an anytime touchdown. That parlay, guys, 60-1 right now at DraftKings. We just dropped the quick slip link in the YouTube chat. Quick words, Grant, what do you think of this parlay? And then we'll get out of here.
I mean, I love 3 legs of it. Not a huge fan of Washington's under, but outside of that, it's absolutely beautiful.
All right.
Oh, great.
Okay. All right. So that's all for us today. I want to thank everybody for watching Action Island for Thursday Night Football. We'll be back here on the island. We're going to wrap up week 9 with the Arizona Cardinals and Dallas Cowboys for Monday Night Football. So on behalf of Nick Giffen, Grant Neiffer, and Sean Koerner, I'm Gilles Gallant. Aloha and bon chance.